time that you knew there's someone there who's searching for you, and it's time that you believe he's gonna find you.
Why, hello everyone, and welcome to Two Guys Fixing the World. My name is Mark Stallard, and I'm here with my good friend Ryan Janz. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great, Mark. Hi to everybody. I guess we hope that you enjoyed the previous episode. It was our big live spectacular. And you got to see a very clean-shaven me. Don't look at all like the caricature that Mark did, which is awesome. Amazing. I love your work, Mark, by the way.
Thank you.
Makes my beard look all nice and red, but now it's just my face is red, but that's because of the razor burn.
And he's looking very cute and baby-faced ladies, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. Married with a kid.
Oh, and now his wife has two.
There you go. So this episode, we're going to be fixing some breakfast for you today. Hooray!
Nice.
Sounds good. So, fixing breakfast, and you might be asking, what on earth are you talking about, Ryan? Well, a couple of months ago, a certain member of the government, James Teitsma, put out a tweet, which should be just get your ire up already, because if that's the way they want to.
It was actually 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
There you go. So not quite a month. So 2 weeks ago, James Teitsma, that's at James Teitsma if you want to yell at him. Manitoba's NDPs are proposing to spend $30 million annually providing in-school breakfasts to students. This is a hashtag bad idea. Don't get me wrong, kids need breakfast, but they need to eat breakfast, and this is in all caps, in their home even more. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say this guy just gets poverty. We're glad you're an elected official.
Perfectly,
Way
yes.
to go, Jimmy. Good job.
No misunderstandings there at all. Yes.
Yeah. Which is funny because I want to point this out before we get, because we had some technical difficulties and this is our second go around here. I want to point out right now that James Teitsma represents the Radisson riding of Winnipeg. And I will include the links here. This is a Wikipedia page that just basically the history of that riding. Started way back in 1958, gone all the way up to present, obviously, has almost unanimously voted in either unanimously, almost failed to a fault, is in the NDP. There's been a Liberal once, and there was one other progressive Conservative, and the poor bugger was only in for one term. James, you happen to get in twice, and I really don't think you understand what you're doing. You're really, I don't think anybody in your riding feels the way you do about what you said, and nobody really appreciates the Trump-style quote or tweet. And we'll get more into that later, but I'm gonna lose my shit if I keep talking about this. So, Mark, I'm gonna pass it on over to you.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. Looks like he's only been in since 2016. Did I read that right? Oh no,
yeah,
no, yeah, right. Yeah, oh right.
2016 to
he was a midterm replacement.
So he's on his second term.
Yep, he was a midterm replacement. That's how we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a man from the wonderful Orwellianly named Progressive Conservatives. Of course, the only thing about the Progressive Conservatives of Manitoba is their name.
Yeah,
so
that's absolutely the progressive part of them.
Yeah, and that's only progressive by spelling because they copied it from other people, so they didn't even figure it out for themselves. Just to fool people that they are not what they are. They might as well call themselves the people lovers of Manitoba, because that would be a lie as well. Anyhow, the thing I think that's the biggest part of this is not understanding that it's not that families of these poor families don't want to feed their children, because that's clearly the implication here, right? He's not even implying, he's saying it. It's It's that they can't feed their kids. They don't have enough money, or they don't have enough money and they don't have enough time because they're working multiple jobs. A lot of families in poverty are single parent families. The time they have to work extra hard, and plus on top of that, the economic situation is down on them as well, with the unemployment rates being 5%. So what were the numbers we came up with there? 68,000 people unemployed in Manitoba officially.
Yeah.
Right. And so that only includes people that are collecting EI. It doesn't include anyone that has stopped looking for work, have given up, or anybody it's only those really people that are getting EI that are really counted, that are actively looking, are counted in that 5%. So it's probably likely more 10-15% of people actually unemployed. So the progressive conservatives, along with their less Orwellian named conservative parties, have gone out of the way since the 1970s to demonize, and if not before, to demonize unions, take away the rights of the workers so they have no power at all. The laws that we have here in Manitoba are particularly arduous because you can just let someone go just because you don't like the style of their hair. Because you can't give that reason, but you can just say business reasons. That happened to me recently. Business reasons, and that's it. Here's your package. Bye-bye. And the law states you work somewhere, I think it's up to 5 years, you only get 2 weeks severance, right? Or 2 weeks in lieu. So that's a problem too. So now you've got, if you do lose your job, and you're going to find it very hard with the 68,000 people competing for those jobs. Most of those are going to be minimum wage jobs as well. Most of those people unemployed are going to be looking for those same kinds of jobs the poor family are looking for, and they have absolutely no power in negotiating anything. So, and if they're lucky, so you can get a 40-hour a week, 40 hours a week. I can't speak it right. If they're lucky to get them.
Yeah, and even if they are lucky enough to get a job that's slightly higher than minimum wage, what they're just going to do, and we mentioned this in our live show. We're going to harp on it again because it was absolutely despicable. True North decided that, and rightly so, they canceled a bunch of events because of the COVID-19 outbreak. If you're a little fuzzy on COVID-19, you can go watch our live special posted on YouTube and all our other podcasting. We did that one to death. But if you'll follow up in saying that they just let a bunch of their part-time workers go. They're just like, no, sorry, we're shutting down. We can't pay you. And there was absolute outreach, which there should have been. And then I think it was because CTV or CBC or one of the local places picked up on it, and then all of a sudden they're backed into a corner. So I was like, well, they're paying them something now, which is they should. What they're paying, I'm not quite sure, or how far they're going to pay them. But it's just they're going to find reasons. They just because reasons. You only work for us part time. You're casual labor. We pay you $20 an hour, but we're going to give you maximum 15 to 20 hours. So you're basically working a part time job for minimum wage. And then they just because COVID-19, done, no money. So if you are relying on that, maybe your main job is maybe it's 25 or 30 hours a week, and then this actually just augments it, and then you can actually live now you've just lost part of your income just because. Yep. That's it. So that's pretty terrible. And I guess the underlying, if you really think, there's two things that really just irk me about this. I mean, other than the Trump style language and garbage that he puts out there, because he puts in a link to this page which makes some interesting points, but the whole point is, you do need breakfast to survive. You need for concentration. But what irks me is when he talks about in their home. Like, you're not talking like the kids that are getting breakfast at schools aren't the kids that are coming from your riding, right? They're kids that are probably coming in from the West End or the North End, that family situations they can't because they can't afford it, or there's addiction issues, or there's gang involvement, or there's all kinds of things that keep people in poverty that are the reasons that you should be feeding these kids, because that might actually be the only meal they get. That's how ridiculous this is. And it's like that in their home, that sort of implies, that has a sort of a double meaning. Yes, you're saying that because you're saying you're protecting the family unit and that's important to you, but really what you're not saying is that the people who are there don't know how to take care of their kids.
Yeah.
And if you're impoverished, how can you?
And as I say, they're saying it's their fault that they are poor.
Exactly.
Rather than it's the economic system that has put them there, and which conservatives have worked hard to make this happen. Businesses, their business's biggest expense is payroll. So they want to make profit. They exist only to make profit. They don't exist to give you cars or to sell you cars and food or anything. Businesses exist only to take money from you. That's why they're there. And so they need to make their profit. So one of the big ways to do that is they can cut their they cut their payroll. So they're actually fighting hard to keep that minimum wage down, if at all. I mean, many of them would rather we didn't have a minimum wage. And I'll go back to the unemployment thing as well. Is that that people when they let go, if they've been there for more than 6 months, they get 2 weeks notice. So if they let go, here's your 2 weeks, bye bye. Now it's true that I had someone say, a friend say fairly recently that, well, it's exactly the same. It's the same for businesses. Businesses, you give the business 2 weeks notice, they give you 2 weeks notice, but it's not equitable, right? Within for someone, particularly someone in the middle-aged, they're out of work. They now are not just competing with the 68,000 or the 68,000 people as well who are looking for jobs as well. And it could take months, if not years, to find employment. I mean, even someone with skills, it can take. I think this happened to me a few years ago. Right, I'm a fully qualified IT, got MCSE. It took me over 11 months to find a full-time job. It took me it wasn't even full-time. That was a part-time job, just to get a term position. And by then, that few weeks that I was given didn't cover me at all. So now I've got no savings, right, and so on. And I was in a different position to these people, but we're heading down. It is definitely a race to the bottom. So when the businesses lose someone and someone hands their 2 weeks notice, and I've been in this situation as a manager, is that someone's handed in the notice. Within a week, I can have 5 or 6 interviews lined up. And by the end of the second week, we could have hired someone. So we don't even miss that person when they've handed in the notice in. So it's not equitable whatsoever. All the power is in with the businesses, with the employers, and absolutely none are there for the employees. So it's a race to the bottom. And this kind of attitude is just not just tone deaf, it's almost ignorant of the effects of the policies that they have put in place and have been championing. As conservatives have been doing since the 1960s and 70s. This is where it's headed.
Yeah, and one of the things that we had covered previous to us having our technical difficulties was it's not just like it's one rogue MLA that's being a bit of a dink here. The entire party, when they got elected in, basically said, hey, it's the last government didn't balance a budget, so there's no reason that we can't increase our wages, because the NDP previous said we're not going to increase our wages if we don't balance the budget. They said, well, we're not going to do that. It's not our fault that you couldn't balance the budget. And then they gave themselves all pay raises. And so our premier got the equivalent of a minimum wage salary if they got 40 hours a week, just tacked it on, and then said, hey, we're going to freeze, so they make it look like they're doing something. We're going to freeze all our so no one's going to get any pay raises, but they already gave themselves a pay raises prior. So it made it look like they're doing one thing. So on one hand, it's like, hey, we're look at us. We're not going to overspend. And then on the other hand, they're like, by the way, we gave ourselves all the big pay raise before we froze out everything.
Right, just to be clear, that Brian Pallister gave himself a $20,000, more than $20,000 pay raise for every year. So that is now that position every year in perpetuity. So that's 20,000 is what someone at minimum wage is it will be making. It was about the same. So was it $11 an hour was minimum wage when they took over. So this is it's absolutely disgusting that this party has this attitude. They will actually, and the reason that they could freeze it was because the law was written that if it looks like that there is a recession coming, that not that they were in a recession, but if it looks like there's one coming in the near future, they can freeze the minimum wage increase, which would have been by the cost of living, right? So the rate of inflation, effectively. And so they froze it. Now the irony here is, and it's a disgusting irony, is that regardless of where you are we are in the business wherever we are in the year, whatever the economic cycle, we're always going to be 5 to 8 years away from the nearest recession. So it's pretty much every term, or once every 2 terms, they could easily say, "Oh no, oh no, the terms are 5 years, right?" So once a term, they can say we're going to freeze it, and they're guaranteed they're going to freeze it because that's what conservatives do. And the ridiculousness is that recession's coming, so you stop the people who spend all of their money. They spend all of it just to survive, but you're giving them less so that they can't spend, which actually cripples the economy. It actually hurts the economy because they now can't buy what they were buying before. And it's really absolutely awful. Yeah.
Well, and if you, we kind of made an agreement not to really go in depth about the effects of the virus because we kind of beat that to death. But really, when you look at the way that we
fixed it in the last one. We didn't beat it to death. We fixed it.
Yeah. When you think of all the people who are not working or who are suspended from working, either through self-quarantining or mandated quarantines or just mandated shutdowns because of that. That's a lot of people not working. So that's a lot of people sitting at home, a lot of people not spending. And that has really, really hurt economic activity. In fact, it's caused such a downturn in the markets that it now makes sense for me to actually just drive my giant truck around because gas is so cheap. But that's because nobody's buying it, because nobody has any money. Because we're not able to get paid for anything because nobody wants to pay.
That's actually a bigger issue because we've got the US are trying to screw Russia and China. And US, although not part of OPEC, are working with OPEC and Saudi Arabia to keep the oil prices down so they can cripple the Russian and US economies. That's why. We can be sure that. Anyway, that's probably another show.
Anyways, that's another show. Yeah. It's not a two guys fixing the world if we don't find another problem to fix. Indeed. So we just walked over a squeaky board, so we'll come back to it.
I like that squeaky board. Okay, so it's worth saying that there are similar programs that are being suggested. What's happening right now? There's kind of a patchwork of systems, back programs. Each area kind of does something to help out. I'm not really sure what the specific details are now, but this whole idea is to have a universal breakfast program so that those that need it get it. Similar systems have been set up in Alberta with great success. But I want to put this out there too. Everything we talked about, the economic situation and the employment situation in Manitoba is a point where we have 27.9% of family and child poverty in all of Canada. Here in Manitoba. So all of Canada, we have almost a third of everybody that is poor and in poverty live in Manitoba. That's down to these awful policies and to these awful the economic situation that has allowed businesses to pretty much control what policies are put in place. This horrible neoliberal, anti-human ideology.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I had mentioned in his tweet, so I'm going to actually go ahead and just lambast this dickwad. I'm sorry, I have no respect for this guy. I try and keep it clean, but I know there's just no way to sound it here. James, you are just a piece of. I don't even have words for you.
Oh.
I'm not even. I know you're not listening to this, so I don't even care. But there's a link on there that actually goes back to his Facebook page. So this is a truncated post off his Facebook page, and I can send you the link to the Facebook page, Mark, that you can post it up with our stuff. So when he says eating in their homes, here's what he's saying. He's saying that having teenagers and adolescents eating with their family is associated with healthier eating into adulthood. Bullshit. Everybody eats crappy when they hit their 20s because they don't have money to afford proper food. Healthier body weight. I doubt it. Lower risk of an eating disorder. Yeah, you really get how that works, right? Bulimia isn't fixed by sitting down with daddy and saying, "Hey, dad, can you pass me the mashed potatoes?" No, sorry. That doesn't work. That's like a mental health disorder. You're an idiot if you think that helps. Less use of cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol. Well, it sure as shit didn't work for me because I had breakfast with my family lots. And guess what? I used all those things at one point in my life. Fewer behavioral problems, increased earlier sexual activity. Oh, look at that. No. Like, you guys just don't get it. Better self-esteem and less depression? Man, how many times did I feel like an idiot walking away from there because I didn't understand what my parents were doing or saying? Better grades and higher scores and achievement at tests at school. Guess what? None of that is true. And I know some of the stuff that I gave is anecdotal evidence because it's stuff out of my own life, but this is not quantifiable. And I think you would be hard-pressed to find hard, concrete evidence that wasn't sponsored by a particular research group or like a special interest group that would corroborate that. Any kind of objective, peer-reviewed study is going to say that. And that's the reason that they're saying this is a bad idea. Hey, look at all the benefits of this fake study that we're going to throw at you, or this marginally, maybe there are some benefits here. But these are just almost as laughable. In fact, they're not even laughable. They're anger-inducing, man. Like, I'm sure my blood pressure's up right now. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So he actually, he actually went on to say that the breakfast program does not address the root issues in the home. That's the key, right? The root issues in the home. Now, I think we've laid out, a really good case to demonstrate that the root issue isn't in the home. It's a symptom of a problem where there isn't enough money and enough time to be able to look after their kids. This is the problem. If they were paid fairly and they didn't have to work these ridiculous hours, and they were able to buy food, this would not be a problem. The root issue is equitable pay and being able to have some control over what they do during the day. Right? They have no control.
It doesn't even address people who are struggling with things like mental health and addictions and broken families, divorce, like all things that could cause a family to become impoverished. It's just this blanket statement of like this really like whitewashed version of what they think life is, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit at all.
Yep. And
it's enraging. Like, and if it doesn't already help that the way that he's talking to you is like you can just sort of almost hear Donald Trump's voice in it. Maybe like, Manitoba's NDP are proposing to spend $30 million. Like, just you can just hear his voice. And this is a classic example of someone who does not understand why you use hashtags and how you use them. He's hashtagged the whole thing wrong. So it comes up, hashtag Manitoba, so that anybody who's looking at Manitoba this will be in the search queue. And it says NDP are proposing to spend $30 million annually in schools for hashtag breakfasts. So anybody who looks up Manitoba breakfast and bad idea potentially could find this within a given amount of time. Well, this is a hashtag bad idea. I dare you to go look up bad idea on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. It just gives you the most ridiculous shit. You're never going to get your thing across. This didn't even hit. This is 2 weeks old. It didn't even hit the top 10. Didn't even hit the top 100. I looked through about 4 different pages to see if I could find this. It's not there. It's buried so deep. It's just there. So really, it's almost a second kind of condescending. It's like somebody who's saying, who's trying to communicate in French, who doesn't really speak French, who knows he doesn't speak French very well, but speaks French and is like, "Oh, I spoke it good enough for you." Like, it's just the worst possible way to communicate.
And well, if your main source of communication is Twitter, then I think
that is a pretty horrible way to communicate.
Particularly when he's actually here's a quote as well. So he said, "Providing a universal breakfast program could discourage and remove the responsibilities from parents." What a pig, really.
There's nothing more to say.
Okay.
I mean, I was looking through some of his feed here for the responses to see. It's pretty. It's pretty much like just what you expect.
Yep.
It's half of it is people saying, "Yay, that's the right idea. You people should feed your kids." And there's other people who are like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm not going to jump in on that because I don't have a. Pick your battles. If you watch our last show, that's a big topic too. Pick your battles. We're lambasting him here. Yep. He can come defend himself if he wants.
Although I'm not sure how. Anyway, I think that's an indefensible position.
No, it's ridiculous. It'd be like somebody saying, "Hey, look, I just stole $1 million, but it's good." It's like, no, it's not. There's not any more to say about that. It's like, really what you've done is you've disadvantaged somebody who's already disadvantaged. So now not only have you stacked the deck against their parents, you've gone against this is impressive. Like I'm almost impressed by how terrible this is. You've disadvantaged the first generation so that they can't provide properly for their kids, and then you've punished that first generation for not providing for the second generation, and then you've disadvantaged the second generation by cutting off access to food so that they can actually perform in school. So now there's absolutely no way that poor child is going to be able to compete with other schools.
But maybe that's
go and make something of himself, right?
So maybe that's the idea. It's social engineering. Keep those at the bottom, or add as close to the bottom as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
ridiculous.
I think the breakfast issue has been well and truly fixed. We may come back to. I'm sure we'll come back and hit other issues similar as they come up.
So listen, riding of Radisson, get Teitsma out. He's making you look bad.
Well, he's making Canada look bad. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us. That was us two guys fixing breakfast. And if you like what you've heard, and you can check out fixingtheworld.ca, figure out, and then from there, lots of links to get the podcast, and we're also on YouTube as well, doing live streams now. So check those out. All the links to everything is on the website, Fixing the World, plus some show notes and some links that are related to the show as well.
That's right.
So any last words, Ryan?
No, just thanks everybody for making us a part of your day, wherever you are. Hope you're having a good one, staying safe and healthy. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we can be found. Also, as Mark has mentioned, fixingtheworld.ca. And keep your eyes peeled on Facebook for the Invisible Man Show coming up on Saturday. It's Tommy Gunn is going to join us.
Yep, actually,
be a good show.
And we should be, if we can find the guests, we should be every Saturday at 2 p.m. Central on what's the URL?
On
theinvisibleman.ca. Here we go. And then links from there as well.
And find us on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Yep.
Anyways, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll catch you next time. Cheerio.